Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Benny Bucks Matlock. Dollar bill Matlock.
I thought I was the only one that called you that.
Well, you're the only one contractually obligated to.
I should read my contracts better before I sign them.
Yeah.
That's on me.
And I should write better contracts if I'm trying to get a SAP. Because my only scam there is like, I want you to call me something really dumb. Permanently.
Could have been like, the second you pay off your house, it's mine.
Yeah.
But,
So,
God, no, Benny Bucks sounds better. I'm putting that in there.
I don't know. We do a show, and
Yep.
this is that
We'll
show.
try to.
I've kind of already lost my voice today because I had a job interview and it was over Zoom, and
I hope while you were at your other job, because that would be perfect. Like,
yeah, that would be great. Like, it's already like bleeding into it. I took time off to do a Zoom interview.
yeah.
But there was other shit I had to do this morning, so I was just
Wait.
I'm gonna make it a half day.
Is this where Benny Bucks comes from? Was this a male exotic dancer club? Like,
God, I wish that would have been a lot more pleasant.
Probably make more money too.
Probably, you'd probably do great. I wouldn't. I would get a cease and desist.
Yeah, you think they're shoving dollar bills, but they're
it's all lawyers just shoving folders in my crotch to tell me to stop.
You're up on stage looking at the other dancers like, man, guy, these businessmen really love me for some reason.
I don't know. I have a demo. And why, I'm not comfortable with it, but why fight it? But I was doing the Zoom interview, and just before it started, and like everybody joined the room and it turned on, a fucking spider crawled across like right next to me and scared the shit out of me. Like, I've talked about my fear of spiders before on this show, and it's like I'm banging on my desk like Alex Jones to start this fucking interview. And it's like, I'm sure I just made a perfect impression. Like, right away, where it's just like, bang, bang.
Yeah. Not necessarily the way you'd choose to start an interview, I'm sure.
No. Well, they need to know, I guess. It's better they find out now.
That's true, because they could say, you know what? Our office is infested with spiders. This might not be the best fit for you. And you'd say, thank you.
I could say, like, I can take care of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'll fucking grenade them all.
Kill them with extreme prejudice.
You might not have an office, but I will handle the problem. Some things must be forfeited. I learned that the hard way. I've been playing a game called Anno 1800, which is like a city builder.
Yeah, it kind of surprises me that you're playing that.
It's
honestly.
funny. It's funny because the new Zelda came out, and I was like, I'd rather play this city builder I've never thought about in my life than play the new Zelda. But in my game, my city, like, I had a portion of it that was like the dedicated mining part of my town, and it was separated by this giant river, and I had like 2 bridges that went over it to connect it to the rest of my town, and then everybody up there started rioting, and I didn't have enough police to calm the riot. And if you don't calm the riot, it becomes a revolution, and they will destroy everything. And I had to make the choice. This is the most evil. This game will make you do evil dictator shit, like, at a moment's notice. You become the worst person in the world. But I immediately destroyed the bridges to the rest of the town and just let that corner of the map die.
Yeah, that's very French monarchy of you. It's
yeah, it was like, and I know there were innocent people there, but they got mad because I didn't put a fucking pub close enough to some of them.
Well, that's very American.
It's like, I put a pub by the water. It was beautiful.
Yeah, a waterfront. That's the problem. It turned into one of these hipster waterfront breweries. It was too expensive. They just needed a
goddamn
cheap
fucking
dive bar.
Blue collar assholes. Shut up and make my clay. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to.
I've mostly just been dying. It's been awful.
Yeah, you seemed a little bit perturbed.
I'm mad that, and it seems to be, it's really hard to pin it down on this specifically, but ever since we got COVID like 2 years ago, me and Tara, I get sick all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And it seems to get worse and worse every time. And this is the first time, like, I've got that wheezy cough that I keep fucking getting. And I had a real high fever, so that was fun. Like, where you're on the borderline, like, delusional.
Yeah.
And, but this is the first time I've been, like, short of breath and dizzy. Like, if I would do more, like, be on my feet for more than, like, a couple minutes, I would feel like I was going to just fall over. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't been to a hospital for something since I was, like, 21. Yeah. But I should probably check this out. And I really thought it was COVID because it felt like COVID, but I was negative for that. And the other thing I was worried about is pneumonia because I'm at that age now. Anybody's at that age, but the 40s are really when you hear all these things about, oh, this guy was healthy, he got pneumonia, didn't go to the hospital, and he died.
Yeah. And
it's like, as much as I gripe about everything, I'm not quite ready to die yet. But like every time, and by that I mean like the 2 times I've ever gone to the hospital, they're like, it's a respiratory infection. It'll go away.
Drink more water.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I just paid you guys like $75 to tell me to do what I was already doing. Cool.
Outstanding.
They did give me some like steroids, and it seems to help. But the first 3 days of this week.
What if you're like, oh, well, I'm paying you to tell me what I already know, and then they're like, well, we could put our finger up your ass if that would help.
I'd be like, well, do I have to pay extra for that, or?
You
Honestly,
you do if you want it in the doctor's office.
Be like, I'm not in the mood right now. I feel like crap. Can I come back when I feel better?
if you want me to do it in my car, that's free.
If this tells you how bad I felt, the doctor, it was urgent care because I'm too stupid to have a actual doctor because I don't go.
Yeah, me too.
So it was the urgent care, and it's been less than 20 years since I've been there because I've had to take my kid there. They've added a slushy machine and a Pac-Man machine, and they're both free. And I didn't take advantage of either one because I was like, that would mean standing up.
Those are probably the most like germ fucking covered.
Well, the Pac-Man thing. Yeah, the Pac-Man thing probably. The slushy machine, they keep like all the cups and stuff behind the desk, and you just ask for one. Yeah. Which honestly is 100% what stopped me from getting a slushy because I'm like,
I don't want to talk.
Yeah. Feels weird as an adult asking another adult for a slushy cup.
If I was a doctor, I would totally make my waiting room an arcade.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
why the fuck not? Like, I can't believe arcades died when they should have just, like, morphed into every other business. Like, everything should have an arcade. If there's ever a point where I'm sitting down waiting, there should be, like, an old Tekken machine.
Yeah, but I think what killed the arcade's not the utility of the arcade. It's that when they made every game like $2 a turn, and
it did jump up.
Yeah,
but I think people would pay that now if you got rid of like the fucking quarter shit and just made it so you could like.
Well, any arcade that I've been to lately, you like they made it worse. You have to get their like fun bucks where you load you use your credit card to load a fake card.
Yeah,
and
I mean. But, you know, especially if you got to pay that much to fucking play skee ball. Like, I don't want to.
It is better than sitting there pumping like 8 quarters in.
This shit isn't Lord of the Rings. I can't carry a pouch of coins with me everywhere I fucking go.
Yeah.
So, while Steve's dying, I have a topic. I have a thing. It's here.
A topical thing?
A topical thing. Not topical. It's a...
Oh, you don't rub it on a specific body part?
You could.
Awesome.
I wouldn't recommend it. Well, definitely won't help your cough.
Nothing else has at this point. Why not try it?
So, Dennis Henry DePue. Pepe DePue.
I love DePue.
He was born in 1943 in Michigan. And he stayed in the state for the majority of his life because when life hands you perfection, why fight it? Working as a property assessor, which I don't know what that is. Like, you just, that's a property.
I think so. I think they go around in like basically a property appraiser, maybe.
That's nice property. That's less good property.
I think they set the value that your property tax is based on.
Well, fuck him then. I hate him more. And you will hate him too by the
I
end
do
of the
too,
story.
because I'm the kind of person like 99% of the people that just pay my bills and don't pay attention. And I noticed my mortgage has gone up like $55, and it did like a month ago too, and I just paid it and didn't notice.
Yeah.
And I got to look, and it's because our fucking property taxes went up like $600 a year. It's like, cool.
Now that happened to everybody.
I know.
That's just the American fucking way right now.
Well, yeah, I knew it would, because they sent letters out like, because of inflated house values now, we're going to reassess your properties. It's like, but these are fake fucking values that are going to crash any day now.
Yeah.
Like, greedy assholes.
So, and I should get a trigger warning out of the way now. There's a lot of violence in the story, domestic violence, murder, typical shit I bring to the show every week.
What most property assessors are guilty of.
Yeah, he's, Dennis,
take that. You raised the value of my house.
The
I'm going to call
warning
you a
signs were
wife-beater.
there about Dennis early on,
Right.
based off his career path.
Right.
That he was a torturous monster. So when he got into adulthood, Dennis would marry a high school counselor named Marilyn. In 1971, they had 2 daughters and a son. So
In the same year? So like triplets?
yeah, just shot them all out. Who knows?
Pow, pow, pow.
Who knows when they were born? This isn't about them. So yeah, he had a wife, children, Michigan.
I was just thinking though, if my wife gave me 3 kids in the span of a single year, the domestic violence sounds a little more plausible. Like, too many fucking kids. What were you thinking? It's your fault, not mine.
There would be domestic violence, but it would be those two daughters and son coordinating to take you out.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, you need that age gap. You need to create barriers between your kids, so they
don't gang up on you.
So
right.
they're not entirely united.
Yeah, there needs to be enough of a gap that they become each other's enemy instead of. Yeah.
And by that, you're teaching them a very important lesson about society, which is you keep the riffraff fighting amongst themselves.
That's exactly right.
It's funny I'm I'm being really sarcastic about Michigan, but I've never been there. And as I was writing this, I thought, like, it'd be fucked up if I ended up in Michigan. It might be a lovely place.
Be as sarcastic about Michigan as you want, because being from Central Ohio, I'm supposed to hate Michigan. It is actually an extremely gorgeous state with a lot of nice like woods and lakefront, because it's along the Great Lakes. But
fuck that college football team.
Yeah. Which is funny, because that's just one little town in this giant gorgeous state, and everybody's like, "Fuck Michigan." It's like,
I'm sure Michigan's lovely, but Dennis ain't. And Dennis and Marilyn's relationship was really not at its healthiest point while they were raising their kids over the years. Marilyn told friends that Dennis was a controlling, paranoid bully. After 18 years, Marilyn filed for divorce. It was 1989, and she cited to her attorney that her husband would try to control literally every decision in her life.
That's so fucking exhausting.
Totally.
Like, I get annoyed when I ask Tara what she wants to eat and she says, "You pick." It's like, no.
Yeah, it's like... my brother has, like, the go-to for all of that, where he literally randomizes everything in his life. He just does, like, a fucking dice roll on his phone. And it'll be like, we're eating that. It's like that one. He has basically Two-Face. He's a Batman villain. But that is always something I've always understood.
Yeah, it's funny, because in that situation, like, there's a very good chance whatever you land on, you're going to be disappointed in. But at the end of the day, the other options where you just like go back and forth for an hour, you're still going to be disappointed in whatever you land on. So you're just saving an hour.
Any situation where it's like bickering about dinner, it's like, in my experience, if you don't pull the trigger on something, whether that's flipping a coin or whatever, you will not end up having dinner that night.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, maybe all this arguing can replace that. And now, oh boy, I'm full.
full of rage.
Calling you a stubborn idiot has really filled me up. So for a controlling, emotionally abusive, if not physically abusive at this point, husband, Dennis was surprisingly amicable during the divorce proceedings. He pretty much let Marilyn have whatever she wanted in the settlement without too much of a fight. They would have joint custody and she would keep the house. And he, like, his one sort of sticking point was he wanted to be able to
my gun collection. Oh.
Yeah. The tunnel I've built underneath. No. He wanted to keep using the guest house on the property as his office. Because when you're trying to get away from a guy who's controlling your every move, why not let him keep a close eye on you?
Right.
As you can imagine, this led to a lot of creepy shit. Like, there's no way you just fold in a divorce if you're a fucking nut like Dennis was, if you're not, like, trying to be weird about it. So there were just points where, like, she would come home and Dennis had broken into the house and just hanging out on the couch, even though she changed the locks.
That's about the least surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just being really fucked up. So, anybody who out there, like myself, who had, divorced parents, it doesn't really matter what age you are when you're a kid. If there's relationship troubles or a divorce happening, no matter how much you try to isolate your kids from it, they're going to pick up on all the shit going wrong and just the tone of everything. And it just sort of becomes natural that kids tend to fall one way or the other on it. And since Dennis was not exactly handling his image very well in front of the kids, it's really no wonder that they picked up something was wrong with mom and dad, especially dad. This all came to a head on Easter Sunday, 1990.
Of course.
Dennis arrived at the house to pick up two of the children who were supposed to hang out with him, and their youngest daughter just didn't want to go because daddy's weird and annoying and fuck him. And their son was also he was a little more wishy-washy about it, but he also didn't want to go. This broke out into a fight, and when Marilyn tried to jump in to defend her kid's right to choose who they spend time with, Dennis accused her of turning the children against him.
They always do.
And then he gave them every reason to be turned against him. So in a rage, they started grappling, and he ended up pushing Marilyn down the stairs and just began beating on her at the bottom of the stairway. The younger children were begging him to stop, and the oldest daughter, Jennifer, ran outside to a neighbor's house to call the police. When she got back, Dennis had grabbed a seriously injured Marilyn and told the kids he was taking her to the hospital.
Sure.
Yeah. Obviously, he's the one guy who should fucking, have nothing to do with Marilyn ever, but he's going to take her to the hospital. So yeah, they never showed up at any hospital. The police arrived just in time now they had to go on a fucking manhunt.
Well, they had to finish their Easter,
It's just the thing. Like, and we've bashed police a lot on this show, but I'm not even.
There's no way that you would be able to, if he's taking off out the door when they've come back. They're not magic, but I had to get that jab in because it seems every single story we do, it's like they get there just in the nick of not being in time.
I'm right in the nick of time of looking at the empty driveway and being like, I think he's gone. It's not their fault, but god damn the timing. Like,
and of course the other delay, they were trying to, by that time the fugitive would have been out, and so the cop wanted to seem cool and do that Tommy Lee Jones line. I want you to search but he couldn't remember it, so he had
I want you to look around. And
they didn't have the internet back then, so they had to run to the library and rent the VHS and fast forward to that spot, and then he's like, that's it.
There.
So that was a good 2-hour delay right there.
Give me air support and call Harrison Ford. I want to know what the fuck he's doing. So
wouldn't that be funny if they just arrested Harrison Ford for it because of that movie?
Anytime there's a crime, anytime a wife has been murdered, it's just our default. One of these days, that movie's going to be right. The first half of it, anyway. Meanwhile, on the road, Ray and Marie Thornton were on a weekend drive through Michigan because eventually you'll find a road out of there.
Yeah.
As they were driving, a green Chevy van stormed past them really aggressively. The couple at the time were playing a game by making slogans out of license plates of cars that passed by. This van had GZ on the front, and Marie remarked, "Geez, he's in a hurry."
I thought you were going to say, they're like, crap, we couldn't read it, and they did a quick U-turn to chase him down just to get the...
No, I think he overtook him, so it was like, what a fucking boring road trip game.
I know.
It sucks. Long drives can be pretty awful.
Before phones and tablets and stuff, I don't know how we did it. We did it, but...
Yeah, well, you got to romanticize it. Like you're an action hero, like wandering from town to town. And then I go, geez, he's in a hurry. So they kept driving and approached an abandoned schoolhouse on the side of the road, where they saw the same van parked to the side. Marie then saw the driver carrying a bloody sheet and walking behind the schoolhouse with it. Now, they drove by so fast that Marie wasn't entirely positive. Like, it's that thing, like, did I actually just fucking see that shit? And her and Ray were kind of going back and forth whether they should call the police or not. Then the van approached them again. And it was just hauling ass and riding their bumper for 2 miles, which is genuinely scary shit when you're the only 2 fucking cars on the road.
Yeah, and you think you just witnessed a body dump.
Totally.
Which you did, but
even without it, I've driven like, long stretches of isolated road, and just having a fucker ride you because they think you should be going faster than the speed limit.
But they won't pass you.
But they won't just pass you and go do their thing. Like there's a thing where I think anytime you enter a car, you're like 40% more willing to die that day.
Yeah.
For some reason. Ray and Marie weren't sure what the man in the van was planning to do, but they turned off the highway just as the van started to pull off to the side of the road. Ray turned his car around and approached the van again, so Ray's way braver than I did.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, did you just murder somebody?
Hey, why are you hugging my bumper, shithead? As the guy's like covered in blood. Then they saw the driver. He was wearing a white hat, and he was crouched down and changing the rear license plate. They also saw the front passenger door was open, and it was soaked in blood. They then rushed back to the schoolhouse, which...
we better do investigations.
Again, like, way fucking braver than, like...
Yeah, well...
Because it's there. I'll just call the police.
But then you're just
check it
contaminating a crime scene and implicating yourself in the murder.
That's a good point. We don't know if Ray and Marie are actually involved in this. So they rushed back to the schoolhouse, found the bloody sheet stuffed in an animal hole. They contacted the police, who were already on a manhunt for Dennis DePue, who happened to be the man with a van and not really much of a plan.
The man with a van and no plan.
Now, I don't know if it'll sound familiar to you. It might sound familiar to our listeners, but that chunk of the story sounded a lot like the opening of the movie Jeepers Creepers. And that's probably just a coincidence, because no way would Hollywood base a thing off another thing.
Nope.
No, it was the inspiration for the kind of opening part of that movie. A forensics team came to the schoolhouse and quickly matched the tire tracks to Dennis's van. They didn't find Marilyn's body right away, though. That wouldn't happen until the next day, when a highway worker found her on a deserted road halfway between the school and the house.
Oh, fuck. I forgot to get rid of the sheet. I better do that here at the schoolhouse.
Yeah. The kids will eat it. On On top of her brutal injuries, she had been shot in the back of the head.
Ah.
Dennis would be on the run for weeks. During this time, he sent insane letters to friends and family where he tried to justify the murder of Marilyn. 17 letters exact, where he ranted about Marilyn's tricks and lies and how she destroyed his life, which is rich coming from a literal murderer.
Yeah, somebody that could have, when they got divorced, just walked away.
Totally.
I don't get how that would ruin your life, but...
Well, that was his big thing in the letters, which is he was too old to start over, which is just, like, I hear that sometimes. To me, it's like you are never too old to start over. You are never too old to move on from a bad relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. It's like, what are you giving up? It's like, well, I don't want to find somebody I actually mesh with.
You know, you don't get fucking graded at the end. Like, hey, it's top marks. You stayed in that piece of shit for 50 years. But, you know, he was a controlling fucking nut job.
Yeah.
And if you look at, like, I'm not one to typically, I mean, fuck, who am I to shame anybody for their appearance? But there's a photo on him on any of these stories you'll find, and we'll have our sources linked in the episode description, as we usually do. There's nothing about him that doesn't look evil. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm sorry, with all due respect, you have to say something at that particular wedding. When it's like, are there any objections? Fuck yeah.
Yes, he is going to kill her.
He is going to murder her. So on March 20th, 1991, a Texas woman came home and saw her boyfriend's van in the driveway. This was a little weird to her because he usually kept that van in the garage. Her boyfriend, a man named Hank Queen, told her
So, not quite king of the hill, he was...
Yeah. Told her he needed to make an emergency trip home as his mother was very ill, and asked her to make him some sandwiches for the trip. Hank gathered his clothes and items, all the while fixated on an unsolved mystery episode that was detailing Dennis's crime and escape. All packed, Hank said goodbye to the woman and drove off in his green Chevy van.
Are we sure it wasn't the mystery machine? He is so like pissed off by this unsolved mystery, he's going out to solve it himself.
Yeah, that's the twist. He's Fred. I've lied the whole time. I'm Frank Queen. And the woman immediately knew something was wrong and she would never see him again. Dennis correctly assumed that one of the woman's friends would put two and two together from this show and blow up the sophisticated illusion he developed of Hank Queen, which is just changing your name and keeping the same car you murdered a woman in.
Yeah.
A tip came in.
And this was within like a couple months it would have had to have been from the...
So
well, I don't know. You said the murder was 89?
The murder happened in 90. Easter 1990.
And so this is 90. So less than a year later, he had a girlfriend that he was living with. So, you know, he's definitely too old to
I can't
start
move on.
over again.
Actually, it's pretty easy.
Pretty easy, yeah.
All you gotta do is tell him your name's Hank Queen. A tip came in that gave law enforcement the false Texas license plates he had slapped on his van. Dennis was just sort of booking it. He drove for 4 hours until he hit Louisiana. State troopers spotted his van, and he forced them into a high-speed chase for about 15 miles.
In a van, you're probably not going to win that.
He did all right, actually.
Yeah, I guess some of those vans have pretty good engines in them.
Yeah, it was also
plus he had sandwiches, so he didn't have to pull over like they did. They got hungry. They're like, well, fuck, let's go through McDonald's.
Yeah, he just threw out a bologna sandwich anytime any of them got too close. Caused them to skid out. As he reached the Mississippi state line, authorities waited as the driver approached the roadblock. Turns out police talk to each other. The phone reaches that other state.
Also, I found out that thing that's always on TV and stuff about, they can't follow you across state lines. That's bullshit. They can certainly follow you across state lines. If you're a wanted murderer, they're not going to just be like, he got to the finish line.
We're also talking about the South. Like, they're all going to get in on it. There's people not even remotely nearby who are going to get in on it.
There's guys that are just slapping sirens on their pickups and hopping in.
Not even cops. Just
you can hear the yee-haws from like miles. You just
hot damn! You got a roadblock. Dennis blasted through the roadblock, and sheriff shot out his rear tires. Dennis shot back at the cars himself and was trying to ram them off the road, but eventually his van was too fucked up to keep going. Because you're riding on rims after a while.
And then those kind of give out, too.
You're not going to be able to go any further. He still tried to hold his ground and shot at officers a little bit, but the hunt was over, and he knew it. But before he let the cops take him, he shot himself. And
like a hero.
Yeah,
like never face the consequences of your actions, kids.
Yeah. Which is again, if you feel justified in your murder, what's the problem? So yeah, that's the story of Dennis DePue.
Excuse me. I love that he had his girlfriend make him sandwiches. You're like, oh crap, they're on to me. I got to get out of here quick, but not before I get my sandwiches.
Yeah, I think that was just hey, don't watch what I'm watching attentively.
At that point, wouldn't you turn it off?
No, he needed to know what they were saying.
What they knew, yeah.
Which is to be fair, that's a real criminal thing.
Well, sure. Which is why it's really stupid to be like, oh, we just got a tip that he's probably in Texas. It's like, well, now he's probably not.
Yeah.
Oh well, they found him, so that works.
Yeah. Yeah. Real piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his name was DePue, or DePue.
DePue.
It's his name.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. That is such a random bit to take to make the beginning of your movie.
Yeah. Especially, I haven't seen Jeepers Creepers in...
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think it was when me and Tara first started dating, so it would have been around 2003, 2004.
I just remember it was the first movie Justin Long did that pretty much cemented him as the fucking guy who's gonna die in any horror movie he's in.
Yeah, but aren't 90% of the cast gonna die in a horror movie?
Yeah, but he was the hero. He ends up simultaneously being a main character and being the most fucked of every horror movie he's in.
That's
even though in Barbarian he was intentionally a piece of shit. But
that's the interesting. I don't know if it's a twist. I don't watch enough horror to know what's a twist and what's not. But having your protagonist be the one that also dies.
I don't really remember Jeepers Creepers that well. But it felt like not too many people died in that movie. And then just at the end, we're going to kill Justin Long. And it was all right, well, there's one on the body count.
He had it in his contract. He's like, I'll do this movie, but only if I get to die a cool way.
Yeah.
And they forgot about it until the last day of shooting. And they're like, well, fuck.
I'm not going to lie. It's getting filleted is not very cool.
I mean,
getting skinned.
As a horror actor, sure. You want your death to be something gruesome and memorable. Because they're not actually filleting you, hopefully. I assume because he's appeared in other movies.
No, he's dead. They make a new one every time. Just so long.
Is it like a Play-Doh factory? They pull a lever and it just squishes one out?
Yeah, it's really gross. Some of them come out half-formed.
Yeah, they're like, oh, fuck, we didn't have enough Play-Doh in there. Put more.
Oh, shit, it's just in short. That would be great. A half-formed Justin Long, and they had a talk show together. Yeah. And they called it the long and the short of it.
There you go. You're onto something. Call up the cloning labs right now.
I should have just riffed in my job interview today. Way better ideas than anything I said. Yeah. So yeah, that's my story.
You're sticking to it?
Yeah, I've researched 2.5 topics in a row.
Yeah, I know.
Look at
I was
me.
pretty impressed when
I want a gold
you didn't
star.
launch in with a creepypasta. Not that I would have cared either way,
Yeah.
but
you never judge.
nope.
I judge myself. And the
Especially
people
when I'm
judge.
over here coughing into the mic the whole time because I can't get the stupid mute button on my microphone to work consistently.
Actually, what got in my head is when family and friends actually said, "Are you doing another creepypasta?" And then that actually fucking stung a little bit. I was like, oh, they're fun.
Yeah.
And I don't have to work very hard.
I like them.
I like them, I guess.
I do like them, though.
I do.
Because then we get to make fun of people's writing, and then at the end say, just kidding, we're not making fun of you.
Yeah, we're joking. It's all good fun as long as I say it's a joke at the end.
I was in my extreme high fever state last night, and Tara took the girls somewhere. It was a checkup for the baby, but she took Lincoln with her too, so that I could at least get some rest. And so, like the smart person I am with a high fever, I turned on. Is it So I Think You Should Leave, or just I Think You Should Leave?
Yeah, I think you should leave.
Yeah, I've seen skits from it, but I've never watched it.
Yeah.
And so I turned that on, and that's a hard thing to watch when you're half fevered delirious. But there was the skit, and I'm sure, I don't know, have you watched a lot of it?
I've seen all of it. I love that
So
show.
it just reminded me of the skit where they're meeting with their professor from college, and he's like, that burger sure looks, yeah.
Give me that. Yeah.
Just joking.
I'm joking. Yeah, that's the vibe, I think, of our creepypasta episode.
That's the worst piece of shit story I've ever read. Just joking.
I'm joking. I'm just joking. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, I didn't love a lot of the skits, but see, now I'm dying. But I get that's totally their vibe is there's always a skit about one extremely unimaginably obnoxious person.
Going too far for too long. I don't believe you that you don't like that show. Because I have to attribute that to your fever, you're delirious, because I can't think of something more up your alley.
Yeah, I don't know. The first couple episodes of the first season, every other skit was just Tim. Is it Tim Robbins?
Tim Robinson?
Tim Robinson. Okay. I can never remember if it's Robbins or Robinson. But it's just him being the loudest, most asshole person he could be. And some of them, it was funny. I got a kick at first. There was that skit where they're in a board meeting and he's laying on the couch because he hasn't eaten in a week.
Because he's buying shirts. Yeah.
But
there's all I think the early episodes do kind of lean into just him being a prick.
Yeah.
And those aren't my favorite, but there are ones where he is an asshole, but it's so outlandish, when he's in the hot dog suit and he crashed into a clothing store. And
yeah, where the meme comes from.
Yeah, where he's crashed into a store with a Wienermobile, and everybody was like, where's the driver? And he's standing outside of it trying to pretend he wasn't the driver. He was like, yeah, we're all looking for whoever did this. And he keeps sidetracking it, where he's like, you guys don't even know my name. After all this time we spent together. I don't know. It is a really good show. When people say they don't like it, it's weird because
a lot of it's
it's always
anytime
people
you
with
watch a new show, it feels like it takes a little while for it to really get its hooks in you, though. At least for me, it does.
Yeah, I mean there are definitely sketches that are funnier, rewatching them, but it's all the people who don't like that show are people who otherwise I have very similar senses of humor with. So it's just this weird thing where it's you either think it's one of the most perfect sketch comedy shows ever made, or you think it's impossibly annoying.
Well, and it's funny because it is my kind of comedy, and I get exactly what they're doing, and I appreciate it. I think for me, it was just those super loud, obnoxious. We've talked about it with Twitch streamers, anytime somebody's just like screaming and whatever, it's just so grating to me. It's hard to, even though I know that's the point of his character. Yeah. But like you said too, I know that it gets kind of less like slanting that way so many times. I think I only made it through like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then I'm like, no, I need to try to sleep. And it's hard to sleep to that show.
It's one of those shows where it's like, maybe watching the full episode, there might be some ones that don't land for everybody. But, if you never watch any more of that show, I think there's one sketch on YouTube where it's like Courtroom Hat or something.
Oh, I think you've told me about that.
Yeah, and he's.
Yeah.
And it's
I saw that one.
It's a transcription of the guy.
That was probably my favorite one last night. Yeah,
he has a dumb hat with safari flaps, and the court transcription won't stop talking about it, even though it has nothing to do with the case.
See, that one was funny because he couldn't be as like super loud. He was just over. I mean, he kind of was, but they'd be like, "Did you see how stupid his fucking hat was?" And he'd be like, "What the fuck?"
The guy at the hat store is the only one he ever said pulled it off.
Now it's stuck in so-and-so's wheelchair.
All right. As I desperately plead for you all to watch a show that's better than ours, we're going to wrap up here. Thanks for listening.
And come back next week when we attempt sketch comedy for an hour.
I'd love to do sketch comedy.
Me too, but I wouldn't be good at it. I guess that might make it better, though. Well, yeah.
I feel like, I think, every troupe needs somebody who doesn't understand what they're doing. All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
And then it just kicks into Freebird.